before, someone gave me a couple of $1,000 and I made a teeny little book called Rough Gods. And that little book sold about 2,000 copies. And I thought, oh, well, I guess I'm doing something right, that people like the photographs. So this company in Berlin called Bruno Gemunder picked me up, and we did a really nice coffee table book called Brutal Truth. And it's about almost 300 pages of photos of men who are half naked or naked with hard-ons, and there's flowers, and there's graffiti, and it's really a beautiful book. So now I just got a new little book out called Beautiful Imperfections, and I shot it all on the iPhone with the Hipstamatic app, and I really I liked
I'm a Portland artist. I now live in New York City. I've been there for the past 6 years, but Portland is my hometown, and I still identify as being a Portland artist. I kind of live a bi-coastal life, which is untenable, but I still try to do it. I'm a self-taught photographer and artist. I didn't go to art school or college. I think I picked up a camera as a coping mechanism, being kind of shy and being a little nearsighted and a little hard of hearing. It kind of gave me a way to frame my social experiences so I could interact and be a part of group situations but not be so intimidated for me. After a while that gets boring. So I started doing a pinup series of women called Velour Girls. And I had my first solo show in September of 2000 at Mark Woolley Gallery here in Portland. And Mark kind of took a risk in showing my work. I actually didn't let him see a single image before I put it on the wall. I was very secretive for 2 years and voraciously making photographs. So that was sort of the beginning. And then in 2001, I had my first male nude series called Mandwich. And it was all Portland friends. I tend to photograph like friends or friends of friends. And I really wanted to see if I could make the same kinds of pictures that were really intimate and emotional and had a lot of art direction and very thinly veiled narrative content. Like I'll have like a very thin sort of theme. You know. Yeah, it's really a different experience. So that was really fun, and it's an ongoing series, the Mandwich series, and the work I'm showing at Koch Gallery. I've been shooting for the past couple of years, mostly in New York, some here, but it's an all-new series. So it's only been shown once in Las Vegas last May.
I think for myself too. I think it's probably about 16 pictures of mine there. Some of them are this big, and some of them are 1620s. But there's about 16 of them there, and I don't think I've ever shown them before. But I think something that maybe Marne and I both forgot to say is, well, for me, I don't work for corporations anymore. I work for myself, and I take pictures. That's what I do. And sometimes, people don't buy pictures, and sometimes people do buy pictures, and when they do, I have money in my pocket. And every time I travel anywhere, it all comes out of my pocket.
This performance artist, Alex Caliber. And it was in Chelsea at a big art opening. I was just about to leave, and this 6'7" god comes out in red underpants with a spiral pinwheel on his crotch, and black sneakers, and that's it. Huge, huge bodybuilder. With a performance that was sort of Baryshnikov meets Henry Rollins sort of energy.
Meets Iggy Pop. Yeah.
Meets Iggy Pop.
It was deranged.
Electro Clash.
He's really more athletic than bodybuilder, but he's a big guy who is so beautiful that it's kind of ridiculous. And he
is a native New York City kid.
He's a little out there.
Yeah, native New York City kid. Very kind of clean, collegiate kind of
Yes,
look.
yes.
But to the performance was sort of, I felt like I was not in Chelsea in present day. I felt like this is Berlin in 1981. There was just this.
That's good.
Really, I felt like there was no sense of time or place. It was such a riveting performance. And I remember I accidentally stood in front of someone, and it was you. And I moved you in front of me, like, oh, I'm sorry. And then we didn't interact. But then the next day we were posting photos of this performance, and Michael contacted me on Facebook, like, oh, do you have any other pictures of Alex Caliber? I'm really interested in his performance, and so we started chatting and saying,
I'm doing a collaborative show at an art gallery, but if you want to explain.
Sure. Well, I have a partner here in Portland, Oregon, Bruce Conklin, he's an artist, and he had seen in the paper in Willamette Week a review of like the first show that was at Koch Gallery, And I was visiting, it was like February, it was pouring down rain, freezing cold, and we called and it was an appointment only, so we made an appointment, and I got to meet Paula Soriano. I was very impressed.
The gallery director.
The gallery director. And so I said, if you won't be offended, I'd love to send you some links of some artists I'm really crazy about, that I know of. And he was like, sure. And then he came to New York City for a visit.
The similar feeling of whatever was going on behind here and love, so it just kind of worked. I have no idea what tangent I just went off on about the similarities or not in regards to our work.
I think there's a sensuality to our work. That's
Yes,
similar.
absolutely.
It's kind of
A beauty and a sensuality.
languid, kind of relaxed quality. I try not to have the same kind of guy in the photographs. I do not have enough bears. I need more bears. I have lots scheduled, but this show tends to be, I don't know, more like, this guy is kind of smooth and tattooed. And actually, Chad was in my first Mandwich show in 2001. He's from Portland, been living in New York City, and is coming back and will be at the show tomorrow. But I like taking suggestions from friends. Like, some people will be like, oh, I know this guy's amazing, you have to photograph him. And I'll see him, and I'm like, I've never even seen this kind of person before. Like, what do I do? And I kind of love that being pushed into a corner, and like, how do I make this person look as beautiful as all the other people I've photographed? I like that extremely steep learning curve. I like being pushed. So I really enjoy that challenge. Like, if I've never photographed somebody who's like completely hairy, like furry, I want that to have the same emotional and quality and sensitivity as somebody else that someone else might find, definitely. But you kind of find your people wherever you go. Like, I can walk into a room. Like, recently I was photographing a wedding in Austin a couple of weeks ago, and I'm supposed to be shooting this bride and groom, and somebody will walk through my peripheral vision, and I'm like, oh, I need to photograph them tomorrow in my room. You just know.
Before I shoot someone, all I know is that I've seen them on the page because they've sent me their picture, and we talk a bunch. And sometimes if I'm in the same city as someone, I do like to meet them before the shoot. So it's not just, we don't walk into this cold. So at least once I meet somebody, I can shake their hand and say hello, and you get a sense of someone. And for the most part, I've had good luck finding people who, once I meet, I still want to shoot them. And some people, it becomes difficult, and they could be anywhere. They could be in Berlin, they could be in Paris, they could be in London, they could be in Portland, they could be in New York. And some people in the end just don't know how to give it up. I still find, I'll answer your question, but what it brings up in me all the time is, what I find is people still get like a little nuts when they see a naked man in pictures. Now, of course, women, it just is a different thing.
Sure.
I don't understand that, because I just kind of think, well, it's the same thing, except men have this external genitalia and women don't. But people get crazy, and sometimes people have even gotten like a little nuts and don't know what to say about. There was a guy that I photographed named Jeff in Palm Springs, and his fetish was that his nipples were huge, and you could tell, obviously someone played with them a bunch. And people just like either don't want to look at the picture, laugh at the picture because of their nervousness, I guess, or people like love the picture. And I don't know what it
When I
is, but
started doing nudes and pinups because of the pornography debate. Like, I modeled nude probably since I was 17. I still pose nude for artists, artists, illustrators, photographers. And there's this whole idea that, a good nude is, classic and it's black and white. And so whenever I would say to people like, oh, I shoot a lot of nude photography, they always say, oh, black and white. That breathy tone of voice, like, that's valid, and that is real art. And I'm like, no, only in color. But I tend to think in very monochromatic tones. I mean, this is a color photo, but it's all very kind of muted, and I think in black and white when I'm shooting, even if it's a color photo. I like to have repetitive colors happening. But it was because of that debate of real nudes or quality nudes are not color. Color is prurient and associated with pornography, and nice nudes are black and white. And so I purposely chose, in 1999 when I started, like, no, I am shooting color. I'm going to reclaim color as beautiful and sensitive and color can have integrity. You can still show explicit material and it can be color and it can still have it. And I photograph it, I'm objectifying that object, yes. To me, that's like a dull argument. You know, I love the body, I don't particularly feel any shame towards the body, and that's the point where I start. That and color, I want color to be beautiful. And like what you do, like all of your subjects, he does get people to smile. You can have a huge guy with, you know, neck tattoos and face tattoos that you would normally be kind of afraid of if you encounter in the street, and you get like the sweetest smile, and he gets his subjects to be really present, and they all come across as incredibly kind.
Oh, well, thank you.
Even if they weren't kind, I mean, I think you have a moment with them where they let their guard down just a bit, and it's nice to see that.
That you're excited to see come down the line?
You go first.
The only reason I'm answering that first is because this whole book I shot on my iPhone.
Okay.
And I used the Schemmerer app.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, I just loved the app because I love taking pictures, and it was just kind of convenient. And I started to use those little pictures as studies for the stuff I shot on my digital cameras. Yeah.
Well, I was shooting 35mm film until about 2007. I started shooting digitally, and while I like how available, you know, digital I can shoot endlessly, I spent a lot of money on film and processing for 10 years. And when I moved to New York City, I FedExed all of my negatives to New York because I thought, well, I'm going to scan these and, you know, do a book someday. There's also material I hadn't touched. I have yet to scan a single one of those images after shipping all, you know, I have file cabinets full of photographs and negatives and contact sheets. I like how convenient digital is. I do miss the meditative lifestyle that I used to have where, you know, a good day was pulling a really good print in the darkroom. That was a good day. Now a good day is I spent 14 to 16 hours photo editing on my computer. I mean, my life in New York City, you know, Facebook makes it look pretty glamorous, but really, I'm at home in my pajamas and don't get dressed or leave the house for 3 days. I'm literally with my drawing tablet that Suzanne gave me, I still have, and I'm in my pajamas photo editing, you know, and that's the reality. Like, I no longer have that day where I just have to pull in and make a multi-channel video installation that's going to open here in Portland in September at Districta. And I did make a film with that technology almost 19 years ago, but the technology's gotten better. You know, what the camera used to be the size of a bread box, and now, you know, it's this big. You know, so I'm seeing 19 years of, you know, chips get better and technology get better, and so that's pretty exciting to use that same technology after a 19-year break.